Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm super excited today. This is a very, very important day. We are finally launching the Business Evolution official guide. Many of you already know what Business Evolution is about. Even the previous versions that were called Purpose Launchpad. And maybe others are still not familiar with Business Evolution. It doesn't matter. Today we'll be giving a high-level description of everything, and also we'll have two very special guests who are going to be talking about their experience. At the end of the presentation, I will be providing the link for all of you to download the guide. And also we'll be announcing something very, very special. So I'm really looking forward to that. But let's start. Let's start talking actually about evolution, because this is what everything is about. Everything evolves. Everything evolves, even the universe, right? Sometimes we think that the universe is growing, or the goal of the universe is expanding, but not really. It's about evolution, right? It's evolving, and everything is evolving. The life is evolving. Society is evolving. Technology is evolving, and every day is faster, the evolution, than the previous days. And of course, businesses are evolving, and that's the reason why we are here, because we see that many businesses are becoming obsolete. Many others have amazing opportunities to go to a different level. And that's the reason why business evolution exists, in order to evolve organizations. It's actually something that we can apply both to established businesses and also to startups. But business evolution also evolves. As I was saying at the very beginning, many of you know that business evolution is coming from Purpose Launchpad, from this previous version of the framework. And even before of that, everything started around 2012 with some drafts that I did in a paper that you can see here. And you can see here the axis and the spiral, a very important part of business evolution for those of you who know. Since then, we have been applying the framework to many startups, many businesses, for my own projects, of course, and to many other projects around, hundreds of them. And today we have a very mature framework, which is actually much more than a framework. I would say that is a mindset. Well, as I was saying, we can apply business evolution both to established companies and to startups. Let's start a little bit zooming in into the established companies, because we'll see a little bit about how they are structured, and also the main challenges that they are facing in order to really evolve. The reality is that most of current businesses feel like this mammoth. They are alive, still alive, but they are suffering a lot because they change on the environment, right? Because everyone can be a blockbuster at some point, right? Blockbuster was bankrupt, and at the same time, Netflix and other similar platforms were growing a lot. However, it's curious, because at some point, someone was asking to the Blockbuster CEO about Netflix, and the CEO of Blockbuster said that, well, Netflix is a different thing. They weren't very worried about it, right? It's curious to see how it was growing, and from one day to another, Blockbuster was out of the market, because the reality is that disruption can come from any place, as quick as that we won't be. We won't see it coming, right? And part of the reason why that's happening is because the merge of many new technologies, the exponential evolution of the technologies, because technologies are evolving in an exponential way, because we are using today's technology in order to create tomorrow's technology, and that's accelerating the pace of evolution of technologies a lot. If we need to understand very well I mean, we need to understand very well the type of companies in order to really manage evolution and to manage eventually innovation. It's key to really understand the type of companies that during history of companies we have seen and we are still seeing. The first one are trading companies. Those were the very first companies, just trading simple companies. They started in the centuries 17th and 18th, and at the end of the 18th and very beginning of the 19th century, with the first industrial revolution, we started to see the joint stock companies. I mean, those companies where we have investors putting a lot of money inside in order to speed up everything, to speed up the pace of growth. And why? Because due to this first industrial revolution, many new technologies started to be very key for the evolution of companies. And those companies who wanted to take the wave and to start growing, they needed a lot of money in order to grow. And that was the very beginning of the joint stock companies. After that, with the improvement in transportation, in communications, and everything, we started to see that phenomenon of the globalization. Many multinational corporations started to emerge in the 20th century. But that wasn't the end, of course, right? Because with the emerge of these exponential technologies that were growing a lot, we saw a very interesting phenomenon at the end of the 20th century that was called the exponential organizations. Exponential organizations are those companies that are growing in an exponential way, in the same way that technology does. Why this is happening? Well, because all these technologies are generating something that is very important to understand, and we call the abundance. We are living in a world of abundance, abundance of data, abundance of information, abundance of energy, abundance of resources. Technology is generating abundance, and this is changing the rules of the market. That was the reason why Kodak went bankrupt. People said that Kodak went bankrupt because the lack of digitalization, but it's not about the technology, it's about the business model. The thing was that Kodak was running an scarcity-based business model. I mean, they were playing with the number of pictures, right? And you were buying these rolls with 24, 36 pictures. However, Instagram and many others emerged with an abundance-oriented business model. The more pictures that we have, the better for them. And that was the key of everything, right? To change the mindset and going from one type of business model to another one. That was the merge of exponential organizations. For example, Airbnb. Nowadays, Airbnb is the biggest hotel, not hotel, hosting a chain in the world, right? They have rooms and full apartments all over the world, more than anything, any other company, and they don't even own one of those places, right? Why? Because Airbnb is connecting with an abundance of places to stay and is managing it in a way that they can grow in an exponential way. That's the key. Google is connecting with an abundance of information. Netflix is connecting with an abundance of content. And that's the way that they grow in an exponential way. Well, however, exponential organizations is not the last thing. It's not, because you cannot grow in an exponential way always, right? At some point, the market is going to become saturated. Growing in an exponential way is not sustainable. So that was the very beginning of a new model that started to happen at the very beginning of this century, the 21st century. They are called the purpose-driven ecosystems. As Peter Diamandis says, the world's biggest problems are the world's biggest business opportunities. And that's the reason why there are many people, many leaders, and many companies following a purpose or defining their own purpose. Google has a purpose, which is organizing the world's information. TED's purpose is ideas worth spreading. And Tesla has a purpose, which is accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. Tesla is not a car company. Well, it's not only a car company. Tesla does many more things, and that's the reason why they are an ecosystem. However, if we compare Tesla with other car manufacturers, we see this, right? This is the largest automakers by market capitalization. And we can see Tesla the number one. After that, Toyota, very far away of Tesla, right? Again, because Tesla is way beyond a car company. They do many other things, and this is why they are so valuable. It's interesting to see not only Tesla here in the first position, but also Xiaomi in the third one, right? Well, most of people don't see Xiaomi as a car company. However, they are huge in this space. Why? Because they are becoming ecosystems. What being an ecosystem mean? Well, this is the graph. They put the purpose at the center. And around the purpose, they start launching several products, services, different businesses. Tesla is launching cars, of course. I mean, they sell electric cars, they sell batteries, they sell solar panels, they sell many things, right? And that's why they are an ecosystem. But Xiaomi is the same. They do, I mean, they do phones, TVs, things for homes like a smart home and so on. But they also sell cars, and that's why they are so big, and that's why they are so valuable companies. Google is another ecosystem. They put their purpose in the center, and they do several products and services around them. Apple is an ecosystem. They have several products and services around their purpose. And actually, Apple was the very first purpose-driven ecosystem. Steve Jobs was a visionary, we all know that. And actually, Steve Jobs changed the name of the company. They used to be called Apple Computers Inc. And eventually they became Apple Inc. Only Apple. Why? Because they wanted to be open to doing other things. So they started to launch phones, watches, music, different platforms, technologies such as Siri that they bought, many things, right? That's why Apple is now way bigger than they used to be, right? And they are growing also a lot, because they are not only growing in one specific space, but in many as an ecosystem. But one of the key things, sorry, of the ecosystems is that they stop putting they stop serving customers. We used to be customers of Apple, right? We buy an Apple every second or third year, right? But we are not customers of Apple anymore. Now we are users of Apple because we are using their services every day. Ecosystems transform their customers into users. That's one of the characteristics of ecosystems. But let's see why they are so valuable. Well, of course, they have the product in the base, serving a customer. For each of these businesses, they put the customer in the center, of course. But by innovating, they improve their profit, they improve their value, right? It's not only about making money, it's also about being sustainable with the planet and with the people. It's the triple sustainability that we all know, right? But above the sustainability, we have the impact, we have the purpose. It's not only about not spending tomorrow's resources for today's actions, which is not being sustainable. It's also about creating a better world driven by purpose. So when you have a purpose that is describing how a better world should look like in the future, the gap between today's world and your purpose are many opportunities. And each of these opportunities, as Peter Diamandis says, is a business, is a potential business. That's why if you focus on the purpose, you can go to the top of the pyramid and make a lot of profit, a lot of value, right? But if you only focus on profit, you are giving away a lot, right? You are maybe a very good business, you can be a good business, but you are not unlocking all your potential, right? So that's why being a purpose ecosystem is something that can make companies grow so much and add a lot of value to their users. Well, however, this is not the only classification that we have to take into account. This is very important, okay? But I will be talking about another one in a minute. However, the main point here is that, it's not mandatory to go from one stage to another. No, these are not even stages. These are just options, right? You can still be a trading company, and that's perfect. You can be a multinational and not becoming a purpose-driven ecosystem, never ever. That's fine. this is about knowing your options. This is about being aware of what are the possibilities to have different type of companies in front of you, right? But a company is here to make money, right? And to make a positive impact, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you need to make money, right? In order to make money, you need to have a business model, right? So one way to look at companies is by the type of company, but another way, and it's very important, a complementary, is what is your type of business model, right? The business model is the way that a company creates, deliver, and capture value. And there are different type of business models. One of them are more scalable than others, and it's very important to understand where you are in order to move to a different one if you want to scale more than you are doing it now. The first one, very little scalable, is infrastructure. Is when you own a large number of assets, usually physical assets, and you are using them in order to create a business around it. For example, you have a hotel chain, right? Or you have a telecommunication company or energy distribution company. It's a profitable company, profitable business model, but if you want to scale, you need to put more money, you need to do huge investments, and it's going to be very difficult to grow in that space. The next one is personalized service. It's more scalable, but because you are doing a customized service for each customer is not that much personalized because you depend on knowledge on the people. It's not easy. If you do standardized services such as franchises and things like that, you can scale a little bit more, actually much more, because you are not doing a customized service for each customer, but you are basically copy and pasting in a way these services to different customers. The next one would be scalable solutions, where you put a layer of technology on your services. You still have services, you have services, but you sell those services along with some technology, with some methodology, so you are much more scalable and replicable. For example, if you are a partner of SAP, you do consulting services for your business, but you have the SAP on top of it, which is licenses and more scalable. You can sell products like a physical product, like an iPhone or a watch or whatever, or even software as a product when you are not adapting the software for each customer, when you are the manufacturer or you are delivering the same software for everyone. That's a product from that point of view. So when you sell the same for everyone, you can be much more scalable, although the investment is higher. Platform is another business model. When you when you have a platform-based business model, basically you are connecting producers and consumers in different places, right? For example, Airbnb, you are connecting in your platform the producers who are the apartment owners and the consumers who are the travelers. And it's key that you focus on the platform in order to let the business grow. Uber is the same. So those are platform-based business model, very, very scalable. And the most scalable business model is automated business models. Those automated business models are those that are run mainly by algorithms. You have people behind it in order to create the algorithms and the systems, but you don't need people at the different sides of the platform like in the previous business model. You can see everything scaling as fast as the market and the different techniques allow you, but at the end is run by algorithms. Now the key thing is where you are, okay? Because again, and let me go back, this is not about going from one to another. Maybe you are fine where you are, right? This is about, first of all, understanding where you are in terms of the type of business model and also in terms of the type of company, right? So depending on that, you can define your evolution strategy. Let's put a couple of examples. Imagine that you are the owner of a hotel, a single hotel, and you want to have a better hotel in order to, to have more value for the customers, to have better margins and everything, right? In this case, you would start here where the black cross is, right? And you would stay here because you would be a trading company, no investors. Let's just imagine you don't have investors. You are an infrastructure company, a small but infrastructure company, and you are not changing anything, but you are optimizing your business. You are optimizing your product, increasing the value of your product. Let's now think about a restaurant that wants to become a franchise, right? So if you are a restaurant, you are in the bucket of standardized service because you are serving the same meals, right, of your menu to the different customers. It's not a personalized menu. No, it's a standardized service. If you want to become a franchise, what you would do is going from the type of company, trading companies, to a multinational corporation if you think about running a global franchise that you could eventually, right? So this is changing and evolving, and you are evolving, going to a different type of company. If you are a telco infrastructure, well, most of the telco became ecosystems, most of the telco. For example, here in Spain, we have a very important one, which is called Telefónica, and they used to be only telco. They used to just charge for the usage of the infrastructure, but eventually they saw that the value was on top of the infrastructure. In order to grow, they needed to do more things, right? So they went from being a joint stock company because they needed investors in the very beginning for building all these infrastructures to become an ecosystem. Having scalable solutions, product, automated services, many things in their ecosystem. They went from being a joint stock company to a purpose-driven ecosystem with different business models inside. The same with Apple, although Apple started with a product, with the computers, and eventually they went, or they became, an ecosystem with different business model, as we saw before. So again, the idea is not about going from one to other as a mandatory thing. The idea is to know, and the key point is where are you and where you should go, right? Depending on your strategy. Let's imagine that we are here in the cross. You can stay here. You would be optimizing. If you go from that level to a different level, keeping the business model, you are growing, okay? You are growing your business. Your same business model, but growing. But if you go to the right or to the left, in this case, there is no more left, you would be reinventing yourself, okay? Because you would go to a different business model. So these are the three types of things that you can do in order to evolve your business: optimizing, growing, or reinventing. As Archimedes used to say, give me a lever and a fulcrum, and I shall move the world. That's our reality. If we want to move our businesses, we need a lever, and the lever is innovation. So that's why we are going to be talking so much about innovation. When we want to move, to evolve our mammoth into a different thing, we need to innovate, but it's difficult. There are many challenges. The first challenge is that corporate transformation projects most of the times fail. More than 70% of those projects fail. You will see the sources in the guide, and also most of the AI projects also fail. Most of them don't go beyond the initial pilot phase. And the reality is that when you try to innovate in established businesses, the immune system is going to attack innovation. Most of the times it's going to attack innovation, right? There is many examples about it, but a very good one is the first digital camera that was invented. Maybe you don't know, but the very first digital camera was invented by a Kodak employee. And it's very interesting, the case, because the bosses of this guy told him, please don't keep developing this, because if you do, eventually our business, Kodak, could fail. And of course, it happened because Kodak was disrupted by this type of technology. But the pity was that they didn't pursue with their invention. Because the reality is that as a business, you need to be prepared to disrupt yourself. Because if you don't disrupt yourself, another company, another entrepreneur, another startup is going to eventually do it. The other challenge that most of the corporate faces is that it's very difficult to execute and to explore at the same time. Really difficult, because businesses are designed to execute a current business plan, a current business. They are not designed to explore new things, and doing the two things at the same time is difficult, really difficult. That's the case of IBM. IBM was a huge and a number one company in computers in 1975. But that same year, the Altair 8800 was launched to the market. That was the very first personal computer. However, IBM wasn't focused on personal computers. They were building and selling big machines, big servers to corporates. They had to, they were running a B2B business model, not a B2C business model. They were trying to launch it, but they couldn't. They saw the opportunity, but they couldn't. The immune system was attacking. They weren't able to really explore. At some point, a business analyst said, IBM bringing out a personal computer would be like teaching an elephant to dance. Well, 8 years later, 5 years later, John Opel, a new CEO, said, okay, let's solve this problem, right? Let's do a different thing. He took a person who was very close to him. His name was William Love, and he said, William, please go to a different place of the country. They were in New York, and please go to Florida, to the south of the US, and do whatever you need to do, right? Launch different type of processes, break the rules, do whatever you need to do, but please make this personal computer. 1 year after, 6 years after the competition, they managed to launch this personal computer to the market, August 12th, 1981. Of course, all the newspapers and the key magazines such as Time recognized this achievement, but it was a little bit late at the end of the day. However, what we learned was that this is not about the idea. It's not about not even the team. This is about the environment. If you have innovation, which is like a seed, and you plant the seed in a bad place, the seed is not going to flourish. But if you plant the seed in the right environment, the seed will have much more chances to flourish. However, the pity is that in the corporate environments, we usually see this. We see the corporate jungle, where innovating is very difficult, because you plant a seed here, and most likely one animal is going to go and eat the seed, or which is the immune system, or maybe there are going to be many other plants and trees around that are going to take the nutrients, which is basically the priorities, right? In a corporate, you will see always priorities which are always going to put the new innovation or the exploration at the end of everything, and this is not going to allow the new innovation to flourish. So how to solve this? Well, it's easy to say, it's not that easy to do, but if you know how to do it, it's easy. It's basically being close to the new initiative, to the innovative initiative, and accompanying it, right? And putting it in the right place until they are ready to be in the corporate jungle. So in other words, it's around surrounding the innovation with the different elements and environment that they need in order to flourish. We say that this is the innovation habitat, and this is one of the most important concepts that I'm sharing with all of you today. The innovation habitat is the environment and external elements that a new innovative initiative needs in order to properly develop. So on the one hand, we have the team that is going to be managing the initiative, and we can help the teams as mentors. But on the other hand, we have the habitat, the innovation habitat, and this is something that only the leaders can change. And that's why it's very important to understand the responsibility that the leaders have on the habitat. Each innovative initiative is completely different from each other, right? It's completely different. And that's why the habitat is going to be different from one initiative to another. We need to understand that each initiative is going to need a different habitat. Archimedes was saying, give me a lever and a fulcrum and I will shall move the world. Well, we were missing the fulcrum, right? Because only with a lever we cannot move anything. And that's the habitat. The habitat is the fulcrum. So we need innovation as the lever, we need the innovation habitat as the fulcrum. If we have both, everything will go fine, and most likely our innovation will translate into real impact. At the end of the day, when we have businesses that needs to evolve, we need to put in initiatives inside the business. If we launch these innovative initiatives as the lever with the right habitat as the fulcrum, we'll achieve the evolution of the business, right? And that's why, and that's the last part of the established companies, is so important to understand the type of innovative initiatives, because there are three types of innovative initiatives within a business. When we are working in a given business model, we can do two things. We can improve the current assets, or we can create new assets, new products, but still within the same business model, right? So these are two types of initiatives. We can improve the current business model, or we can create a new product within the same business model. But we can also launch a new product or service which is focused on a different market, on a different business model, right? So these are the three types of things that we can do. We say that improving a current product is incremental innovation. Creating a new product within the same business model is adjunct innovation. But creating some new product or service that could be a new business model that eventually could even disrupt us is a disruptive innovation, right? So with each of these three types of initiatives, we are going to achieve different things. With incremental innovation, we'll achieve optimization. With adjunct innovation, we'll achieve growth. And with disruptive innovation, we'll achieve reinventing our business. So these are the three things, as you recall from before, that we can do in order to evolve a business. And we can and we should do the three of them, by the way, not only one. Well, this is about established companies. I'm going to talk very briefly, it will be shorter, about startups. What is a startup? Well, Steve Blank used to say that a startup, or says, a startup is a temporary organization looking for or in the search of an scalable and replicable business model. Well, because, at the end of the day, a startup should become an established company. Uh, Otherwise, they will be a startup forever and eventually they will die, right? Because you cannot be a startup forever, basically. You need to become eventually an established business, and many of them are looking for becoming an exponential organization. That's the reality. However, if you write a business plan for your innovative startup or your disruptive startup and you just execute it, this is going to happen, right? You will crash, because as Steve Blank used to say, no business plan survives the first contact with customers. A business plan is not a set of actions to be executed, it's actually a set of hypotheses to be evaluated. That's the key thing, right? Well, taking into account both the established companies and startups, this is the official definition of business evolution. It's an agile framework that turns innovation into real impact, helping established companies optimize, grow, or reinvent themselves, and startups validate and scale through the implementation of three things: the right mindset, proven innovation methodologies, and exponential technologies. Because exponential technologies will allow us to do new things, but we need these innovation methodologies in order to do the things in the right way. And the mindset is going to be the key. This is actually the key. If we have great tools, but we have the wrong mindset, we won't have succeed. If we have the right mindset and not very good tools, we'll figure out how to find the right tools in order to make things happen as they should go, right? But a very, very important point, regardless you are a startup or a corporate, especially if you are a corporate, is putting the initiative at the center of everything. Because the startup is the initiative itself, but the corporate is going to have many initiatives. Some of them incremental innovation initiatives, some of them adjunct innovation initiatives, disruptive innovation initiatives, you say, right? But the idea is that you will need to put this at the center. Let's see what business evolution is about and how it works, right? We'll see the general approach, which is very valid for both established companies and also startups, how to apply this for the initiatives and for the startup. And after that, we'll see a part of business evolution that is only focused on established companies. Well, when you put the initiative at the center, you need to start developing, or you need to start making grow this initiative. So you are going to go through three different layers. The first layer is exploration. You need to explore. You need to find the right path. You need to evaluate which are the most promising path, the most promising market, customer segment. You need to develop your customer, all these kind of things, running experiments, interviews. You need to explore. Once you know, or you think that you know what's the right path, you start developing, but developing in an agile way. And that's the key. because you are not going to be only develop. You are going to be developing, but also exploring at the same time. And that's why we say layers. It's not linear phases. Those are layers. So you take your initiative from exploration to develop, but you need to keep the explore. And after that, you do the impact, which is the impact phase, right? The impact phase is not going to be about exploring anymore, although we'll keep some exploration in the core. It's about optimization. So your mindset change. You're not going to be only exploring with a explorer mindset. You will need to start thinking about how to optimize things, how to scale things, how to manage a team in a very efficient way, all these kind of things, right? On top of the layers, we have the axes. You can see here, the axes are 8 axes that are going to allow you to go one by one in order to evolve your initiative. You start defining a purpose with a vision. You start connecting with communities, building a team, finding the right customer, developing the customer. The abundance is going to be a key concept because it will allow you to provide more value to your customers or more scalability to your project. So the abundance axis is going to be very helpful for scalability and also for adding value to your product. The next axis is the business model, is the profit, how you are going to be making money, right? That's very powerful and very important. After that, the processes, how you operate, the product that you are building, and eventually how you are going to be measuring things. Each of these axes is huge, and it would take us a lot of time to talk about it, but we are going to talk only about one just to see an example. Let's focus on the product. The product is something that we can see, for example, in Airbnb, how they developed the product very well. Airbnb didn't start with a nice platform as we see it today. Airbnb started actually with an air matrix, and that's why they are called Airbnb, air matrix. The story was that they were 3 in a flat, in an apartment in San Francisco. One of them went away, left the apartment, and the other 2 needed to have more money in order to pay the full rent. So they put the other, the spare room, the free room, they put it on rental. With an air matrix and with a good breakfast, right? And that was the very beginning of everything. They started to see that that was a good business, and they started to put other friends' apartments into Craigslist, an announcement online place, right? And that was going very well, very well, very well. And eventually they said, okay, let's build our own platform because we know now who is the market, who is the customer, how to attract them, and everything. Eventually they become an exponential organization, but the main point is that they were following these 3 phases. They were exploring with a very light product, what we call the minimum viable product. They were developing in an agile way, learning while keeping the exploration. And while keeping the exploration and the development, eventually they launched the nice platform. They launched the Airbnb as we know it today, and they focus on scaling. So here we can see the power of the axis and also the power of the layers. We are going to manage each of these axes, each of these 8 axes in a completely different way, depending on the phase or depending on the layer that we are. We have tools in order to do this. We have tools such as the assessment that is going to allow us to see the initiative radar that will tell us how our initiative is doing in the different axes. And we have the process of the initiative sprint, which is a process that will allow us in a weekly basis to evolve in an agile way with a backlog and everything, evolve the initiative itself. This is very useful for both startups and also for the different innovative initiatives within established companies. However, established companies have a different thing. It's the habitat problem, as we saw, right? So there is an assessment that is going to allow us to understand how the habitat is working. In this case, for example, the habitat is very bad because the people, customer, processes, product, and metrics are very, very poor, right? So we have an habitat sprint with some tools and with some techniques that will allow us to improve the habitat with the leaders. Remember that the habitat is something that only the leaders are able to evolve. And also other tools such as the company habitat map that will allow us to see how the habitat in general, not only for one initiative, but in general, is doing in a specific company. Well, all of that is complemented with solutions. there are many solutions that are focused on different things and different needs of established companies, such as the business evolution purpose, to define the purpose of an organization, the challenge, the booster, and I'm going to mention very quickly two of them. The business evolution challenge is an open event where many entrepreneurs, leaders, other companies, investors can participate towards a common purpose. Boston Scientific is the second medical device manufacturer company in the world, and they wanted to do different things. They wanted to go beyond the device, right? So they launched a challenge. Well, they have launched several challenges with us, and one of them was how to create a future healthcare system in Costa Rica. They launched this challenge, and one of the ideas that came up with a group of entrepreneurs in that challenge was, okay, let's start using an algorithm that was developed in the University of Leeds by Professor Alex Frangi in order to help people to detect potential risk for heart attacks. So with the image of the fundus of your eye, and this company is able, this project is able, or was able to do early diagnostic of heart attacks. The thing was that was an amazing project, because with AI and the picture of the fundus of your eye, they were able to predict heart attacks. However, the immune system reacts for several reasons, right? We did a radar of the habitat, and this is the radar that we got in the left side, right? The radar was very bad. I mean, the system was not working for this company. So we started to work with the leaders of the company, with the leaders of Boston Scientific, and we improved the habitat. And eventually what happened was that this project became a company, became a startup, a spin-off of Boston Scientific. That was the very first spin-off that Boston Scientific launched in Latin America in all its history. So that was a huge achievement, and that was happening because the habitat was evolved and was changed. And another solution is the booster. The booster is a several-week process that start diverging, generating different type of initiatives and converging in order to create the right environment, the right habitat, and the right development of these initiatives in order to eventually achieve the evolution of the company. One of the companies that was running several boosters with a lot of success was Mafre, the biggest Spanish-speaking insurance company in the world. And actually, Juan, who is their innovation director in Spain, will be speaking about this in a minute. The very last thing that I wanted to say is that there are official certifications and business evolutions, because we believe that these tools that I just mentioned have to be used by people who know about it, who have a training, right? And also, in order to apply the framework, it's important to count with a professional, certified professional that will be guiding your team or guiding your leaders in order to do the things in the right way. And in order to talk about his own experience, let me ask Juan, who is with us here. Juan, again, is the innovation director of Spain in Mafre, to talk very briefly about his experience. Maybe there is some technical issues. Okay, let me go to the second business leader that we have here, Ignacio Cuerva. Ignacio is the CEO of Cuerva. Cuerva is an energy company based here in Spain that is actually evolving into an ecosystem. And Ignacio has been leading the innovation and the evolution of its company since more than 10 years ago. And he has an amazing track record to share. So Ignacio, thank you so much for being with us here today. And well, we are looking forward to learning from you.
Okay, thank you very much, Francisco. Thank you very much for having me, and hello everyone. Very happy to be here and to have the opportunity to share our experience and how we see all this environment and huge frameworks that you have described. As you mentioned, we are a small utility company in the south of Spain. We are an energy company, and we foresaw many years ago we are talking about 12, 10 years ago, the real possibility to foresee that the abundance of electricity could maybe transform and disrupt the business, even until we thought it could be for free in the near future. So we try to define how to see, to analyze these kind of ideas. And we started, as Francisco said, defining and describing our purpose in order to have a compass and to really be sure we were in the right place. And we define our purpose as the open electricity to transform the world. And surrounding this purpose, we try to move the organization and to fight against with these kind of issues that Francisco said, as the immune system, or the challenge of separating execution and exploration, which is probably, to me, one of the most important issues to solve and to manage with the team. We started many initiatives in this kind of new strategy and under our purpose. And the thing was that we were really frustrated because we couldn't explain how the majority of them death finally, even though we really thought they were very, very good ideas and initiatives. And the key point from our experience is clearly the necessity of being conscious about the environment. So if you don't put from the top of the company, from the CEO and from the board of members, from the top of the company, the necessity of having the initiative in the center and to take care about the environment of the initiative is really, really impossible to deal with it and to success. So this is very, very important, even to give these kind of ideas to the teams, even though they are not responsible to take care of the environment. They need to have the idea, and they have to understand, and they should identify when they are in an environment problem, if they are having difficulties during the process. So this is summarizing very, very short, very, very shortly, 10 or 12 years of experience. But it would be for me. I would be happy to continue in another time or a session commenting this kind of experiences. So very, very happy to be here, and thank you very much, Francisco.
Thank you to you, Ignacio. The reality is that the track record that you have achieved with Cuerva is really impressive. As we said, Cuerva is an energy company with more than 80 years of experience, very, very focused on generation and also energy distribution, but eventually evolving and going beyond through all these different business models that we saw, like customized services and beyond that. Doing this is not easy at all, but I'm pretty sure that only those companies as Cuerva that really pushes innovation and evolution will be making the difference and going beyond the rest of the companies. I'm really looking forward, Ignacio, along with you, to see the progress and success of Cuerva, because as part of it, I'm pretty sure that we'll achieve very big things and will translate the innovation into real impact. That's the main thing at the end of the day, to make
Okay.
the business. Thank you again.
So thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye bye. Okay, perfect. So, we are going to finish. We are just finishing, This is what you all were waiting for, right? The guide. So you can already download the guide, the Business Evolution guide. This is the link. You will find the guide in Spanish. Actually, the image that you can see on the left side is in Spanish, but also in English. So the guide is published in both languages, both English and Spanish. And it's a very, very comprehensive guide. It's not even a document that I'm expecting you to read from the very beginning at the end, because it's more than 80 pages, almost 90. But it's a very comprehensive guide that will tell you much more about the type of companies, the type of innovation, the axis, the layers, everything, the solutions, everything. If you want more information, if you want support, if you want to implement it and you don't know how to do it very well, let us know. We are here to support you, of course. Evolution Alliance is the company behind this. Even though the very beginning of the framework was done by me several years ago, but as the CEO of Evolution and founder of Evolution Alliance, I have been pushing the methodology of the framework and publishing and making it open to everyone. Our purpose in Evolution Alliance is evolving organizations. You can find maybe many tools, many resources, and even online platform to do the assessment and everything in our website at evolutionalliance.com. And not only that, we are an alliance because we have a global network of certified professionals in business evolution. Mentors who are helping teams to navigate, the right path. Also strategies that are helping the leaders to develop the right strategy and to create the right habitat. And well, eventually we'll be launching again the Business Evolution Essentials and other certificates that are not available now, but we are going to be launching those soon. So just stay tuned to that. The very last thing that I wanted to mention, I said at the very beginning that we had a surprise, is that we are launching a challenge. We are launching a Business Evolution Challenge for companies, for established companies that want to participate. So if you are the leader of a company and want to evolve your business and are worried or excited about artificial intelligence and you want to use it in order to make a better company, either optimizing your current business, growing your current business, or reinventing your current business, just apply to participate. It's going to be a 1 month challenge, an amazing opportunity to really be connected with mentors to other companies. Actually, we are going to be allowing only one company per sector to participate to avoid overlaps. That's going to be an amazing opportunity to learn from other companies. We're launching it now. We are executing it in a few months, but the applications period is open and will be closing. So I really encourage all of you to participate in the process. Well, that was everything. Now everything is launched. I'm super happy now because finally the guide is live. The framework has been around for more than 10 years, but the guide is now here. I'm really looking forward for all of you to read it and to let us know. Really also looking forward to see many of you transforming the innovation into real impact in your business or other businesses around you. Anyway, this is the very beginning and looking forward for doing many things together and creating impact all around your businesses or beyond with business evolution and overall with the mindset. The mindset is the key. Looking forward to making that impact with all of you. Talk to you soon. Bye bye and thank you for attending.